hot roster today. The matchups revealed. Garion and Cam still with you. Now joined, Cam, by Corey Parson of Scout.com, the fantasy executive. Corey, how's it going, man?
What a handle.
What's going on, fellas? I'm happy to be here. I tell you what, the HotRoster app, I love it so far. What a great way to get involved with fantasy football. Of course, the second screen. So far, so good. And liking the matchups this week. Interesting card.
Yeah, some interesting matchups on this card, and a couple that you have to play tonight if you want in on them, including one with Jordan Howard, who, as we mentioned at the top of the show, Cam, is obviously playing tonight against the Green Bay Packers. He's a half fantasy point underdog to C.J. Anderson. Kind of a weird situation here, Corey, where both these guys seemed at one point this season to be the undisputed backs in their own backfield, but now Kadeem Carey has come back from injury and kind of taken some of those snaps away from Jordan Howard. And, you know, you had Gary Kubiak come out this week and say that he wanted Devonta Booker more involved in this offense. So which guy do you have more confidence in at this point?
Oh, really, when I tell you what, on this, when you look at this call right here, and everything you said absolutely is correct. But when I look at the situation with the Chicago Bears this upcoming weekend against the Green Bay Packers, I look for them to run the football more, especially not to mention the fact that Aaron Rodgers' team, you know, playing with his back against the wall, that team coming off a poor performance. So I think the Bears have to play a little catch up this one. So I'm going to give the edge to C.J. Anderson, not to mention the fact Anderson has a plus matchup against the Houston Texans defense that always, you know, show leaks against the run.
Hey, Corey, let's talk about the quarterback situation. And we got Aaron Rodgers going tonight, and not very Aaron Rodgers-like. No. That's the thing. This guy hasn't thrown for the 300-yard game, but interesting situation with the Green Bay backfield. We might see a little Ty Montgomery because of the injuries there, and I got to believe being banged up, he's going to do his thing and maybe throw the ball a lot. But also on the other side, Drew Brees has been lights out. You want to talk about a touchdown machine, over 400 yards consistently. This guy has been on fire. His worst game, ironically, against San Diego, a team that most have carved up. What do you think about this one? We got Brees versus Rodgers. It looks like Brees on paper, but is Aaron going to eventually show up and have a Aaron Rodgers-like game?
This is where you get the funny situation right here, because it does look like Brees on paper. But I tell you what, you look at that backfield situation with the Green Bay Packers, that is something that you don't want any parts of right now. I know Montgomery might have been the hot guy off the waiver wire in season-long leagues, but I tell you what, for our contest right here today, I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers. No running game essentially to speak of, not to mention the fact you get Drew Brees on the road, you get Rodgers at home in a game where, you know, this team has to feel like they're coming in with their backs against the wall. He needs a good performance right now to kind of relax people and slow things down. So I'm giving my points to Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I mean, Drew Brees on the road, that's probably the key thing right there. As soon as you take that guy out of the Superdome, it has not been good news the last couple seasons. Let's go to a very interesting matchup at the tight end position. There's no spread in Delaney Walker versus Hunter Henry.
Good one.
I mean, Henry's one of those guys who we thought that maybe Antonio Gates would sneak away some of those red zone targets, and it's not even like he's been targeted all that much, Corey, but 22 targets. He's connecting on 86% of those with a catch. He's got 3 touchdowns already this season. And Delaney Walker just came off a huge goose egg against a Cleveland defense that had been hemorrhaging points to the tight end. I mean, Anthony Fasano ends up in the end zone instead of Delaney Walker, making me, among other people, very upset. Exactly. You're rebuying into Delaney Walker this week, or are we going with Hunter Henry?
I tell you what, the Delaney Walker situation last week, he looked like a lock in most contests. He looked like a guy you had to get in your lineup, but of course it didn't end up turning out that way. And the guy that we weren't on last week was Hunter Henry, going up against the Denver Broncos with that tough matchup. But Henry has been phenomenal. I'm not even concerned with Antonio Gates, old man Gates as I call him. The guy is massively overweight too, but that's for another topic. But when I look at Hunter Henry, not to mention the fact he's getting in the end zone, he's gaining chunks of yards down the field, I think Hunter Henry is the guy I'm liking in this competition. Listen, this is obviously a pick 'em, so it's really a push. I do think Delaney Walker bounces back, but I'm going to give a slight edge, and mainly that touchdown edge, to my guy, Hunter Henry, even though Delaney Walker also has a plus matchup this week.
Looks like Corey was playing our game with Gates. Hashtag stair lift, geriatric, senior home. That's what we were talking about. Yeah, we had a contest with that. We love Gates, too. We love him. But you know what? Father Time catches up with everybody, Gary.
Another thing, too, Phillip Rivers, you talk about the touchdowns for Hunter Henry. Phillip Rivers leads all quarterbacks this season with 45 passing attempts inside the red zone. So that's only meaning good things for Hunter Henry, I think.
Well, Corey, let's talk about a running back matchup. And you know what? When Tom Brady comes back, one guy that's happy, James White, he loves it. This guy has been a touchdown machine. As for Gio Bernard, a really good matchup. When you break down the numbers in total yards, Bernard is a little bit more, but the problem is White gets those touchdowns. We expect Gio to get in. He's got a good matchup against the Cleveland Browns. What do you like in this one? The thing about White is he seems to get those touchdowns, even though Gio might get more touches in this game. Who do you like?
Yeah, and especially in the standard scoring situation, when you look at the format, basically Tom Brady just makes that whole New England Patriots offense better. Not to mention the fact they get to go into Pittsburgh this week and beat up on a team I'm sure they're going to look forward to beating up on. I really think they unleash that offense. Gio Bernard is a fantasy enigma. He's a tough guy to figure out. I'm going to give White the edge and score that touchdown. I think Jeremy Hill could be the play for the Cincinnati Bengals this week if he's healthy and he's out there rocking and rolling and good to go, which it looks like he will be. Gio always tough to roster him, in my opinion, so I'm going to give the nod to James White, but this is a tough call right here.
Yeah, I'm with you,
It's
Corey.
one of the toughest matches on the board,
It's probably the toughest match on the board considering you have two just PPR-specific running backs in this non-PPR format, the standard format as you're talking about on HotRoster. Before we get you out of here, Corey, big-time wide receiver one matchup. Mike Evans against Odell Beckham Jr. ODB is actually the underdog after a 222-yard, two-touchdown performance against the Ravens last week. He's a half fantasy point underdog to Mike Evans. San Francisco, this matchup kind of interesting. San Fran has been the worst team by Football Outsiders against wide receiver one so far this season, but we saw on that Monday nighter 2 weeks ago, seems like Tampa Bay kind of wants to take the reins a little bit away from Jameis Winston, maybe limit him in this passing game. Do you feel like there's still enough volume for Mike Evans to beat out Odell in this one?
Yeah, listen. Well, here's the thing about it is this is a tough matchup right here. You got two wide receiver ones. Mike Evans is off to a phenomenal start this season, and a lot of people are indifferent about Jameis Winston, but I think he's a fearless young quarterback, not afraid to throw the football, and of course that meaning being the reason why they have to rein him in at times. But there's nobody on this team that can guard Mike Evans. But what I will say is this: I'm going to take Beckham in this matchup. Beckham is a streaky player, and when he starts getting hot, he can carry your fantasy team for 6-7 weeks at a time. We've seen him do it before. So love Mike Evans in this matchup. There's no reason why he can't be the guy, but Odell Beckham Jr. looks like he's getting ready to go on one of those tears.
But no one wants to get up at 9 in the morning and watch Odell Beckham Jr. in London, so who cares anyway?
Isn't it weird, too, to see Beckham as a pooch in the matchup, too? You're thinking, this is very interesting,
Beckham against the kicking mat. Who do you got? Corey, who do you got? Beckham against the kicking mat.
I tell you what, so far the kicking mat has got the best of Odell Beckham, but hopefully he bounces back. But know what I tell you what, guys, the London game is always tough, always difficult to factor that into your analysis. But Odell Beckham Jr. is just one of those type of players where it's tough. But against any other receiver on the board this week, he probably would have been a 1.5 favorite.
Yeah, Mike Evans, that matchup might just be too good to ignore. Once again, that is Corey Parson of Scout.com, the fantasy exec. Corey, thanks so much for taking the time, man.
Thanks a lot, guys. Good luck to everybody this weekend.
Absolutely no problem having Corey on, and Corey will be on the show a lot. So watch out for the fantasy executive, as it were. As for us, Cam, when we come back on HotRoster today, we're going to talk about one of the 3 NHL cards available to you on HotRoster.com. So stick around, and we'll talk about it.